Hello, and welcome to another episode of Random Chess Person. Today, we're looking at a question that starkly divides the amateur chess world, at least according to these screenshots of several forums I've been to. Many people get very upset if they're playing you and they're winning and you don't resign. As you can see here, they think that if you're in a losing position, or it's a lost game, or clearly losing, untenable position, where it's obvious you won't win, with no hope, that you should just click the flag button and quit wasting their time. There's just as many forum posts disagreeing with this, but these are the ones that seem to pop out into my mind because I don't understand that attitude. Most of these people, when I've clicked their profiles, they're at my level. These are not grandmasters. These are not the Magnus Carlsens of the world. I usually do not resign, even if the game looks lost. And I have a few reasons for that, which we're going to cover in this video. The main thing I want to say is that you don't have to resign. There's no rule that says you have to. It's considered sportsmanlike or even ethical at certain levels of chess, world championships, huge tournaments between grandmasters, and in certain edge cases, like when Magnus Carlsen resigned on move 4. That was a special case because this was game 2, and in game 1, his opponent had lost because of a disconnection, a technical problem. And Mr. Carlsen said, hey, let's play this even. So he resigns in his second game to make it 0-0 or 1-1 as the case may be. And they start off on an even footing for game 3. That seems fair. But I'm not Magnus Carlsen. You're not Magnus Carlsen. We're not grandmasters. If you were, you wouldn't be watching this video. And in our games, it comes down to a really simple flowchart or math problem, if you want to consider it that way. Because there's only one possible result of the game if you resign. That's a 0. You lose the game. The opponent then will win the game and get a 1. They'll get an ratings increase. Your ratings will decrease. But there are more than one possible result for not resigning. And I think this is fairly simple to understand as well. If you don't resign, one result is you could still lose the game. And in my experience, it happens with alarming regularity. But you could also win the game if you don't resign. And you could stalemate or draw. That's happened to me more often than number 2. And the thing is, there's only a few ways to lose in chess. One is resigning. One is getting checkmated. And the other one is running out of time. Okay? Resigning guarantees that you lose. Not resigning means that you're not guaranteed to lose. And again, at our level, lots of things can happen. My level, let's just say I'm around 1100 in Rapid. A little higher in Daily, a little lower in Blitz. Now, here's some things that could happen. Your opponent could blunder. And I say this with high degree of confidence because it happens all the time. I blundered to get into the losing position. They could very well blunder because they're at my same level. And if so, I could end up winning or stalemating. It might not even be a technical blunder, but a mistake or inaccuracies. Number 2, your opponent might be behind on time. And if you make fast moves, watch your clock, and they're not, and they started getting frustrated that you didn't resign, you might win on time. And that's one way to win. Now, obviously, one thing that could happen is your opponent might win, and in that case, you might learn something. You might see how they won. They might have won in a way that you hadn't considered before, which makes you a better player. These are reasons that I usually don't resign, because these things can happen and often do. So I think we can ignore most of these people. I want to look at a couple of games. They're my games that I think, prove this principle. Now, this first one that we're looking at was just from a week or so ago. I'm in a losing position here. If you can see the evaluation bar over on the left, right there. I don't know. Can you see my mouse pointer? I don't know if you can, but it says black is up, minus 6.88. The white part of the evaluation bar is very low, and I'm playing the white pieces. This is move 44 of the game. I've been behind for 23 moves, something like that. Here, all I could think of to do was to threaten this rook. The computer says, yay, star, it's a great move, but my opponent just takes my pawn, moves his rook out of danger, and I can't win with these two pieces. I really can't. And I don't even have a pawn left to promote to a queen. So now at this point, my only hope is a stalemate. But I don't resign. I come after the rook. Not sure exactly why that's a mistake, as the computer says. But the bar now has me down still 5 points or so. I come after the rook again. Not sure what else to do. Not going to lose my very last remaining piece to take a pawn, because then I'll almost certainly lose. He puts me in check again. I go after the pawn with my king. He protects it. He protects it further. I'm starting to get trapped here. Now I'm in check. I have to move backwards. Check again. I move forward. Don't know what to do. I don't know. Should I take that pawn? I did. Now here, he saw a brilliant tactic. Boom. Because if he can check me here, when I move out of check, he gets my bishop. He thought this was a brilliant tactic, but I don't think it was, because what happened was, when he took my bishop, that's a stalemate. These squares are guarded by the pawns, these squares are guarded by the king, and these squares are guarded by the rook, leaving my king nowhere to go. That's a stalemate. That's why I didn't resign. Got a stalemate. Another game. This one is showing move. I'm on move 31 here. You know what? I wanted to go back to here. Move 28. The evaluation bar says my opponent has checkmate in 12 moves. We humans can't see checkmate in 12 moves, but I know I'm behind here. He's got a rook coming here to back up his other rook. He's got a knight here guarding these squares. My king's kind of trapped. I don't know what to do. I start pushing my pawn. And he doesn't know what to do either, because he's at my level. And now the evaluation bar says we're tied. See, he didn't think to bring his rook down here 4 moves ago, but he could have. He didn't. So now black's ahead. And we keep playing, and black gets further and further ahead. Black's now ahead by 2 points. Oh, no, black's ahead by 20 points now. White has almost nothing left, it says. White, okay, here we go. We keep making mistakes. I keep maneuvering, trying to save my rooks and my king. And I'm ahead, and I'm ahead. But then I make a mistake, and I don't have any rooks left. And now white's ahead again. But I don't resign. I keep playing. Computer says we're drawn again. It's even. But he makes a horrible mistake. And now suddenly, I'm ahead again. And I'm about to win. And he resigns. I won this game because, just like me, my opponent makes mistakes. And the fact that I was in a quote-unquote losing position should not influence whether I resign. Again, certainly not at my level. I have one more example, real quick, and that is from a game on a different website, where, as of right here, if you can see the evaluation bar, Black, that's me. I'm playing the black pieces. I'm down by +10. That's because he's got a passed pawn that can just probably get all the way down because his queen's right behind it and his knight's guarding this spot. And my rook is pinned and my queen is kind of pinned because if I move my queen, yeah, you see what the problem is. What can I do? Well, what I can do is wait for my opponent to blunder, which they immediately did. And now black is way ahead because of this. I put them in check with their queen hanging. And they resigned immediately at that point. Now again, these are 3 examples that show how when it worked. I want to be clear, it doesn't always work. Very often when you don't resign in a losing position, you will, well, at least I do, you'll lose. But not always. And that's what these examples are meant to show, that you don't always lose, because your opponent's most of the time going to be human. Now sometimes you can tell they haven't made a mistake the entire game, and they're going to checkmate you in 2 moves. Hey, feel free to resign. I do sometimes. But in a game that's gone back and forth, when we both made mistakes, I always feel free to keep playing. They did, after all, when they clicked to play at the beginning, agree to play that game. There was no understanding that you were forced to resign at a certain point. Just a quick review of the possible results of resigning are 1. You will lose. Possible results of not resigning, you might lose. It's a high probability if you're way behind. But you could win, as I just showed you from a couple of real-life examples. And you could stalemate. One of my examples, I stalemated because my opponent didn't see it coming. Gladly took my bishop and left me with a stalemate, which is not a loss, especially if you were about to lose and they stalemate you. That's a tie. Your opponent can blunder. They might run out of time. And even if they win, you could learn something. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was insightful in some way. Thank you for watching. If you happen to know something I don't, or have a different opinion, feel free to leave it in the comments. Thank you.